Day one is here, and there's a major shakeup to the show revolving around the presence of the tribal chief. A huge change has been made, and the result lands a huge roadblock for Roman Reigns' future. Let's see how it all plays out as we rewind the Bloodline. Welcome back to the Bloodline Rewind. I'm your host, Johnny Bakeshow, and we got Teddy Mongoose in here with us today as this is part 54. If you missed last week's show, we had a sit-down interview with Paul Heyman on the fallout of his firing as the wise man, and we got you all caught up on everything behind the scenes during this time in 2021. So go back and check that out. And if you are new here, hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the channel, and it keeps you in the know for when we drop daily Bloodline content every single day. So before we hop in here, Goose, we've got some big news. What did you dig up in the Observer?
Well, we are at a pay-per-view. And so with that, let's start with the January 10th, 2022 Wrestling Observer newsletter. So we watched the first and so far only WWE Day 1 pay-per-view. This show took place Saturday, January 1st, 2022 from the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. The Observer readers were 37.5% thumbs up, 25.5% thumbs down, and 37% thumbs in the middle. The best match was the five-way for the WWE title, finishing with just 3 more votes than the second best match, which was the Usos versus the New Day. The worst match was Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss. And Dave Meltzer says the WWE's road to WrestleMania took a detour on 1-1 due to COVID-19, but the original plans of the final destinations are still said to be in play. After a slow start prior to the Lesnar versus Reigns announcement, and also the announcement of Lashley being added to the WWE title match, the show ended up doing just over 11,600 fans, adding luxury box holders who wouldn't have a ticket, with 10,300 paid. As far as the actual tickets out, at the time of the announcement of the match, that being Roman and Brock, there were 6,238 tickets out. So they added 5,000 new tickets sold the last 3 weeks, which Dave says is amazing by modern standards. Yeah. And that basically shows that it's the biggest match possible in the promotion and likely the entire business at this point in time. For actual paid tickets, they just about doubled what had previously been sold. On the broadcast, they did announce 13,657 and a sellout. The 11,213 were basically a sellout for the number of seats that were put on sale. But sellout is a misleading term since they were 4,800 shy. The show also made some history as WWE has now banned the term pay-per-view, as these shows are now premium live events.
Bruh. Yuck. I hate saying PLE. It doesn't sound right.
I know, but they did it, didn't they?
They did. They did.
Because it went from muscle memory pay-per-view to now PLE.
I know.
So it's time for the package, brother. So we get the 1/1/22 graphic. We start with what sounds like WWE 2K intro of the show here. Like Cole says, he hopes everyone had a good holiday. Here we are, day 1. And then AI Pat talks about,
we got some big money matchups. I haven't been this hyped in a long time.
Like, very weird. Quavo welcomes us to his home city of Atlanta, and we get Big E, Brock, Becky, Edge, KO, even The Miz is in this video package. Quavo talks about getting straightening, and which was something. And then we get Beth with Edge versus Miz and Mrs. and Becky and Liv Morgan. This is just me up because it's straightening in and then. So we get the Beth with Edge versus Miz with Mrs. We get Becky versus Liv Morgan. We get Laughing Seth and KO and Bobby Lashley and Big E for the Fatal 4-Way. So here we go.
So we start the show immediately with breaking news at
It's 6 o'clock Eastern. The WWE put out a press release saying that Brock Lesnar will now compete for the WWE Championship, which is represented on Monday Night Raw.
as Roman Reigns announced that he tested positive for COVID-19. So this match is Big E defending the WWE Championship against Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Kevin Owens, and Brock Lesnar. So we're going to cover this match because it does play a major role moving forward, but we also have an Usos tag match that kicks off the show.
Yeah, dude. And once they announce Brock, you already know what's going to happen.
Oh yeah, it was so obvious.
Yeah. It's not a prediction, as a spoiler.
Yeah.
So we start with the Usos. We get this. It's pretty sweet that day one-ish is the first song that plays at day one. Like, I really like what they did here.
Yeah, I don't know if they planned it like that. I'm sure that they did, but that was really well placed. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, so we don't have a hype video for this match. Rather, they show the angle a few months ago where they splashed Kofi's knee, and that was weird. Like, of all things to show, it was just that angle, but whatever. So Woods and his hand are out next. Woods is living it up. It's his hometown. There are the Royal Geeks that take some mints or something like that from Kofi. And then we get to the match 2 weeks ago where the ref didn't see the tag to Jimmy. We get the Trouble in Paradise getting hit for the pin. Cole lets us know the same official that missed that tag in that match is the ref again. This time, though, it is for the titles, and the Usos have held those tag titles for 167 days. The Usos have had the belt 7 times, and the New Day have been 11-time champions.
Woods and Jimmy kick us off as they normally do in these tag matches with some chain wrestling. Kofi tags in, and they hit a double team move on Jimmy for a quick count. Jimmy then hits some chops. He goes to hit the ropes, but Kofi follows quickly behind him. He slides under the ropes, tripping up Jimmy, and then Kofi heads to the top rope where Jay comes to help, but he gets hit with an elbow on the apron. Jimmy then comes over to Kofi and he hits a spinning enziguri, and now Jay lands a heavy clothesline onto Kofi on the outside, and then he tags in. Back in the ring, Jay is now ground and pounding on Kofi. He then starts choking him on the bottom rope, and then the ref is distracted trying to pull Jay off, and then Jimmy lands an uppercut from the outside. The Usos are now cranking up all of the heat in this match.
Yeah, Jay getting heat on Kofi while Pat keeps talking about how Roman is going to crush COVID was something. And it started to happen so much that I had to be thinking Vince McMahon needed to be Vince McMahon was that meme of the dude looking side to side with sweat pouring off of his head the entire time because of how many times Pat said COVID.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? He had to be making him so uncomfortable. Cole's, the entire bottom half of Cole's suit had to be soaked, just sitting there in all of that sweat. So what I did like here, though, is that Jay cocks the fist for Roman. He hits a hip attack. That was a really cool. We got you, brother.
Yeah, and you know that like Vince was sitting there and he did that big like gulp. He was just like the whole time, every single time. So Jay hits the hip attack, and then the Usos raise the ones. Jay goes for another, but Kofi hops up for a running stomp, and then we have a double down. Jimmy gets tagged in, and he super kicks Woods off the apron, and then he drags Kofi back to the Usos' corner.
Yeah, what I liked about this was Kofi was crawling, trying to make that hot tag, and Jimmy ran in and just super kicked Woods' head off, like right off of the apron. Dude, that made me laugh a lot. I loved it.
The Usos land a double team super kick, and then Jay puts Kofi on the top rope for a superplex, but Kofi counters, and then he hits a swinging DDT off the top rope. Woods is back up on the apron as we get the hot tag, and he runs wild, ending with a spinning side Russian leg sweep, and then Woods lands another move for a near fall.
Yeah, and you could tell that Cole was completely shook here. He didn't even call anything. He didn't even give a what a maneuver. He stayed completely silent. No idea what Kofi just hit here.
Literally, he had no idea. And you know that like Vince is probably on the air, but he's like, come on, say what a maneuver.
Right, dude. It was awkward for a hot second there. It really was.
So the Usos are on the outside as Woods lands a diving kick to Jay. Jimmy lands an uppercut to Woods and then bounces him off the announce desk.
Yeah, Pat's voice is cracking at this point in time.
Off the top rope right there.
He's so into this.
Literally, whenever anyone comes to the outside, his voice immediately starts cracking. But we go back into the ring, and Jimmy hits a corkscrew off the top rope for a big near fall. Jay tags back in, and they nail the alley-oos for another near fall. Jay and Woods are now trading blows as Woods lands one last blow to lay them both out. Kofi tags in, lands a big splash for a near fall, and this match is really heating up at this point.
Absolutely.
Kofi then hits a clothesline, then the boom drop. He goes for the Trouble in Paradise, but Jay lands a nasty super kick, tagging Jimmy in. Jimmy hits the Uso splash, and somehow Kofi kicks out at 2.99.
Gable Steveson sitting in the front row. McAfee calls him out for it. He thought this was over, and actually so did I. At this point in time, we're about 10 minutes in. Like, I was like, okay, this is it. Great match. And it wasn't. This was a great near fall.
Yes, they've truly had me at this one. So Jimmy is going for the hip attack. Kofi sees it coming, and he's popped up by Jimmy. And when Kofi lands, he tweaks the knee that the Usos took out a few weeks back before Survivor Series. And then Jimmy again takes Kofi's bended knee.
Yeah, great callback here. And even better for this being the one angle that they pointed out before the match started.
Yes.
Really well done. We're going to tell this story. Let's remind you of what happened before. Like, this is kudos, man. Great work here.
Yes, bravo. So Jimmy has Kofi in a half crab cranking on that knee. Kofi then makes it to the rope, breaking the hold, and Jimmy drags Kofi back to the Usos corner. Jay tags in. He has Kofi held up. Woods pulls Jimmy to the outside. He bashes him off the barricade and the steps as Kofi rolls up Jay for a 2 count. Kofi then hits the SOS for another near fall as the New Day lands a huge double team again for a near fall. And this Woods was absolutely stunned, and they had me again.
Yes, agreed that this was back to back. First one was the heels. This time was the baby faces. Excellent near falls.
So Kofi tags in. He flies off the top rope over Jay. Jimmy blind tags in. Jay hits a super kick. They land a double super kick, the double Uso splash, and Woods comes out of nowhere to break the count.
Kane! Somehow Kane Woods breaks things up!
Yeah, and just before this spot, there was the second "This is awesome" chant of the match, and I thought both were well deserved. And the way they shot this was so good. They did the replay with a wide shot. You could see Woods obviously coming in, but on that first shot, that tight shot, this was perfect.
Both teams are in the ring, and it's total mayhem. Woods gets hit with a super kick to the outside. The Usos land the 1D to Kofi, and they retain their titles. This was an awesome match to kick off the show.
Yeah, excellent match. I feel like they just missed the peak because after all that, the finish came out of nowhere a little bit. Nonetheless, though, great match. 4.25 star match for me. What say you, John?
I think that you're right. I think that they just barely missed. I think that the fact that the Usos hit so many moves at the end, if they would have mixed it up or not done as many, like, I felt like it would have been a 5-star for me, but I think that 4.25 is totally respectable here.
Dave gave it 4, so and I thought it was better than a 4-star match. I love this. Afterwards, Kevin Patrick is backstage with Big E. Patrick asks what Big E feels his odds are to retain now that Lesnar's been added, and Big E says, "Bring me your beasts." Tonight, he will walk out still. I said still your WWE champion. Oh, no. Later on, Kayla's backstage with Migos. They say nothing of substance.
Hey, oh, bow, bow, woo.
Later on, Drew beats Madcap Moss. Afterwards, KO goes backstage. He gets asked what he thinks about Brock getting added. KO says it's a travesty. It should have been between him, Big E, Seth, and Lashley. KO calls Lesnar a bully. He says, we've seen what he's done to KO's best friend, his soulmate, Sami Zayn. And he says he's going to talk about his pain, but then he changes his mind and he's going to talk to Seth. Then we get Madcap and Corbin Pillmanizing Drew's throat, and we cut to Brock's locker room.
So Kayla asks Brock about the changes to the match tonight, and Brock goes full advocate here.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brock Lesnar.
He says that Brock does whatever he wants to do because he's a free agent.
Thanks to my advocate, Paul Heyman.
And he's going to walk out the WWE champion, and that's not a prediction, that's a spoiler.
And so after that, Edge beats Miz with the help of Beth. Afterwards, Kevin Patrick finds Lashley and MVP backstage. MVP puts over Brock as a once-in-a-lifetime guy. But do you know who's not trembling with fear? Bobby Lashley. Because Bobby Lashley is a once-in-a-lifetime athlete himself. He welcomes the addition of Brock because when he regains his championship, he could say he beat Brock Lesnar as well. And then Lashley actually gets on the microphone. He says he can't wait to feel Brock tap out. New year, new WWE champion. Later on, we got Becky retaining over Liv Morgan. And now Kevin Patrick is with Seth Rollins, who walks in with this obnoxious laugh. Seth says he was supposed to be one-on-one with Seth and Big E, but KO lied his way in. Bobby bullied his way in. And now Brock, basically brocked his way in. So then Seth cuts this fiery promo about him stomping heads and winning. And then he walks off. And they started the package for this main event, but it started with Seth laughing like Waluigi. I couldn't deal with it, dude. So I fast forwarded through the entire thing. So Mike Rome's hair, I do need to say, is so tall.
Dude, he's got so many inches of hair on his head.
It's so tall. It is a ruler length sticking off the top of his head. He tells us that all 5 men will compete at the same time. There are no countouts or DQs, and whoever scores the first pinfall or submission will be the WWE champion. Seth is out first. KO is out next. Then Lashley, and Lashley just looks so incredible, man.
Yeah.
He really does.
Not fair. It's really not fair.
No, and then we get Big E, and so the champ isn't even announced last, which was the most Brock thing ever. Brock's music hits, and then the happiest dad you've ever seen is cheering for Brock. The Beast makes his way to the ring. They remind us that Brock was out of this match a mere few hours ago. No one can be ready, and Brock told us that he's leaving day one as a champion, so you'd think he believes that, and so do we.
So Brock hops up on the apron and Seth and Owens jump him. They get taken to Suplex City immediately. And I just figured that they were going to kill everyone in 3 minutes and Brock was going to be over because we were pretty close to ending the show.
I literally thought the same thing here because Brock hit 5 Germans before I could type the word German.
Whoa. Suplex right off the bat. And that game plan just blew up. Full visitation to Suplex City. I'm keeping count. That's 2 apiece, gentlemen. It's going to be the end of civilization.
Literally, he hit them so fast. They were just boom, boom, boom.
Yes. Yes. I literally was just go, Brock hits a German. Boom, boom, boom. So now I'm counting. I went from typing the word German to counting how many there were.
So Big E flies in with a clothesline and Brock literally eats it and he doesn't fall over. That was incredible.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. He didn't little brother Big E here. He was full monster here. So I like that spot a lot.
So Big E then sends Lesnar over the top rope to the outside. He goes after Lashley, who Lashley posts him. And now Lashley has his sights set on Lesnar. Lashley spears Lesnar through the barricade. So they've taken out Lesnar immediately.
Yeah, MVP is freaking out on the side, and the happy dad is now a saddy dad. They go back to this guy, and he's just beside himself.
So we go back to the ring. Owens, Lashley, and Rollins are going back and forth. Rollins and Owens working together, and then they turn their sights to Brock. Rollins then hits a tope, and then Owens hits a frog splash off of the apron onto Brock.
Yeah, I love that Seth held down Lesnar for this.
Yeah.
And the thing was, taking this move had to suck for Brock, and giving this had to suck for Owens. But because he was holding him down, there was nothing there to break it for either one of them, man. It was just straight splash the floor.
Well, then they grab the steps and then they take out Lashley and Brock. So now all of the big guys are now down. Rollins and Owens, they clear the announce desk. They grab Lashley. They try to suplex him through the desk, but he fights out as Big E runs in and then he chokeslams Lashley through the desk. The team of Owens and Rollins now take out Big E. They land a DDT on Lesnar on the steps, which again, this is the most that Brock has probably sold in 2 years right now.
Yeah. And what was great about it was that everybody and their mother thought that he was going to come in and just crush everybody. Right. And now he's selling big. And not only is he selling big, he's taking big moves. Awesome later to this match.
So we go back to the ring and Big E is fighting back, but Owens hits a pop-up powerbomb. He goes for the Swanton bomb. but Big E gets his knees up, but then Rollins flies in with a splash and gets a big near fall. I love the way that they shot that sequence.
Oh, right into the knees of Big E, but Seth Rollins! Rollins can do it!
Yep, same as that tag match before. Excellent job here by production.
Rollins hits 2 rolling elbows to Big E, and then he's going for the curb stomp, but when he jumps, Lesnar is there. He picks him up in midair for the F5, and then Big E gets hit with another F5 himself. Owens then kicks Lesnar in the gut for the stunner, but then he gets an F5. He turns around, and Lashley lands a spear for a huge near fall, and now we are cooking in this match.
Yeah, and this is the Paul Heyman match, man. We are now to the segment where it's just finisher, 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 and I'm not complaining at all.
So Lashley is lining up for the hurt lock. Lesnar tries to break through it, but Big E breaks the hold. He hits the big ending on Lashley. Brock counters it into an F5, and now Lesnar is your new WWE champion.
Yep. Eat, sleep, end a New Day title run, repeat.
Yes, literally. He's ended the New Day every single time.
Yeah. So Brock is a large, sweaty mess here. Lashley is a large, sweaty mess. They show them both. They sort of zoomed in on both of them. I thought this main event was absolutely awesome. The crowd popped insane when Brock won. And then they realized Brock won. So they were cheering way less. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right. They popped huge and then they're like, oh shit, this is exactly what we thought was going to happen. Now what?
Right. So 4-star match for me. What say you, John?
Well, for this being thrown together within hours and literally an 8-minute match, I actually really, really liked it. Everyone hitting their spots. I think 4 1/4 was pretty good here for this.
Okay. So Dave gave it 3 3/4. In the Observer, he called the show overall okay. He said the 5-way was explosive, but only went 8 minutes and 19 seconds, just like you said. He also called the Usos tag match excellent. For some post-show notes here, Roman Reigns tested positive for COVID-19, with WWE reporting it hours before the show started. The decision was made to move Brock Lesnar into the WWE title match and to make it a 5-way. Lesnar won the match, pinning the champion Big E after an F5, none of which was part of the original plans. Belief is that Reigns versus Lesnar, the match that was to headline WWE's first day 1 show at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, is still on top as the main match. The original plan for WrestleMania was Reigns versus Lesnar to headline for the Universal title. Dave says one would think it would be Lesnar defending, since what would have made the most sense was Paul Heyman in some form costing Reigns the title. Instead, on the Raw, on the 1-3 show in Greenville, Heyman was back being the advocate for Lesnar without any kind of dramatic angle. From there, they could go a number of different ways, although the long term makes more sense for Reigns to be the long-term champion simply because he's full-time and Lesnar isn't. Right. Now, because there's 2 nights of WrestleMania, they need a WWE title match to headline the show for both nights. The plan was originally for Seth Rollins, likely against the winner of the Royal Rumble match, with Big E being the favorite. But Kevin Owens and Lashley were also possibilities. The match in that position may remain the same, but getting there is going to be different. It's unclear when WWE was aware that Reigns wouldn't be there. He hadn't appeared on a WWE show since 12/17, as we discussed last week. Right. With the CDC changing their recommendations, as are all sports leagues, WWE changed policies as well. So for now, he is planned on being on the SmackDown following day 1. Okay. We'll get to that next week. So little fun fact here, Lesnar's previously unplanned championship reign makes it a 20-year span from when he first held the WWF/WWE title, meaning the same championship belt. Yeah. So that was 2002 to 2022. That, as a record, it broke the mark of 18 years for Hulk Hogan, which the first time he won it was 1984. The last time he won it was 2002. And then Bob Backlund was 17 years. That was 77 to 94 for that title. So again, they did completely rewrite everything, and we have plenty to talk about next week as far as all that goes, my man.
I cannot wait for that. So that was part 54 of the Bloodline Rewind. If you've made it this far in the video, be sure to leave a comment about what you thought about the day one PLE and Roman being out with COVID. And next week, we're going to be covering that same fallout that you were just talking about from day one. And we are officially into the new year of 2022 here on the Rewind. So with that, I'm Johnny Bakeshow.
I'm Teddy Mongoose.
And we just called it in the ring.